Hello, welcome to another episode of Outside the Frames. This time we're going to be doing a review of the Superman movie, and the location is temporary. This won't be a permanent thing. This is just a temporary thing set up. But I wanted to go ahead and do this because I think it's important and I think that it's good to put out. So, little brief history. I am a major fan of Superman. He's definitely my favorite superhero of all time, closely followed by Spider-Man. But he's my favorite superhero of all time. One of my favorite characters of all time for a multitude of reasons. But I wanted to get that out there. I am also a major film fan in general. I'm a major cinema person. I love film. I love the making of film. I took classes. I love it. So, this will be a spoiler-free review of the Superman movie. And I want you to understand when I go into this that this will not be a just situation of the average moviegoer explanation or something like that. This will be more of a situation of, will I think that if you're a fan of cinema, if you're a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of this, when you put all of that together, is it a great movie? It's not just a, will the average moviegoer love it? Will this, will that? It's will someone who loves cinema, who loves superheroes, who loves this, who wants to go in not just to have a fun, entertaining time, but actually wants to see a good piece of cinema. That's kind of what this review is. But it'll be really good for people that have seen it and they really like it, and they're all wondering, why are some people not caring for it so much? Maybe this will kind of help you understand that, because I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, I had like a ton of fun watching the movie, so to me it's a 10 out of 10. And it's like, yeah, that's very good. I agree with that. And everybody likes what they like, and everybody has their own opinion, and everybody that just wants to go to a movie for a great time, then that's awesome. And everybody should get what they want to out of it. But for a lot of people that want to go in to feel something, they want to go in to have a story told to them. They want to go in for more than just the Transformers or the King Kong versus Godzilla kind of movies. They want a good mix. They want a good storytelling, good filmmaking, everything like that. And this didn't have a great mix. So let's start off with my rating, which, as you saw in the thumbnail, I would give it a 7.8 out of 10. Mainly because I think that the film does incredible when it comes to Superman's characterization. I think it does incredible when it comes to doing more comic book accurate stuff, more comic book friendly stuff. And I think it does a lot of that stuff very, very well. I think including some of the Justice League is very good. I think Mr. Terrific was standout. And like I said, I'm not going to go into spoilers, so don't worry about that. I'm mainly going to be talking about the characters, the filmmaking aspect of it, and why I think that if you're going into this film and you're wanting something that's just fun and entertaining, then it could be great and you could love it. If you're going into this film thinking, I want something that's on the level of an Avengers Endgame or something like that, where I have emotional weight, where I have good storytelling, good cinematography, good everything, and I get to have fun and watch superheroes beat each other up, you're not going to get all of that in this film. So my number one issue on why it's down and it's a 7.8 and not a 9 or a 10 is the overall pacing. So when you're making a film and you're writing your script and everything like that, you have scene, like let's say you have scene A, scene B, and scene C. You gotta have a transition, some type of transition to get you from scene A to scene B to scene C. Otherwise, it's just like random jumps that would almost feel like if you're just flipping through the channels and you're like, oh, well, this episode of Friends is on. And then you flip the channel and you're like, oh, they're playing this other episode of Friends. Flip the channel, oh, they're playing this other episode of Friends, and they're like 3 different timelines. They're all the same characters. It might be all the same overarching story, but they're just random points in time. And so if you don't have those somewhat little transitions in between those scenes, it can kind of feel like that. It can feel like one long TV season crammed into one movie, and you're just kind of randomly jumping through points of time with this character. And so, for instance, And don't get me wrong, Man of Steel has a ton of issues. It's probably about the same. It's probably a 7.8 out of 10 as well. But for when it comes to filmmaking itself, I think it has an edge. So like in that aspect, you have Clark Kent working in a bar, and he's working in this bar as his undercover, and he hears these soldiers talking about something that the military found in the Arctic. And so that's a little teaser to, and a little step to go, okay, now he's leaving this job, and now the next thing we see is him now working in the Arctic. And you're like, okay, awesome, you're doing that. And then you get Lois in there, and Lois does that, and then you see him protect Lois, him drop Lois off. The immediately next scenes is him talking to Jor-El and learning about his history and his past. And so all those scenes have a connector, and it continues like that as a one big overarching story. And you don't have to have them all connect like that and like be a straight fluid situation. You can do something as simple as he goes to sleep, and so it's dark, and then it's the next shot, it's morning. Or you see him leave by driving in the car, and you're like, okay, that's done. And then the next scene is him getting in and walking into work, and you're like, okay, that's good, that's a transition. He left for the day, he's now driving for the day. What this movie does is it doesn't do that. You'll have a lot of times where it's like the middle of the day and he's just there. I'm not going to spoil anything, but he's there. And then the next scene, maybe he's completely in a fight. Or the next scene, example, this is not what actually happens in the film. This is an example. Maybe he's like having coffee, and then he's talking to someone, and then immediately he's like in space. And you're like, well, how did he get from A to B? And it's kind of jarring, and it happens a good amount of times in this film. So that's my biggest problem with it. My second biggest problem with it is the writing. The writing, James Gunn is an incredible writer, and he makes you feel things for characters that you didn't think you would. In a lot of the Guardians movies, and even in his version of Suicide Squad, you start caring about characters you didn't think you'd care about and have emotional weight with those characters. That doesn't happen in this film, and I don't know why. I think he maybe got, because he's now running DC, and so he's running DC and writing this movie and directing this movie and overseeing it. I think maybe he had too much on his plate when he was writing this script, because his usual writing style just isn't there. It doesn't feel the same. It feels very corny, cheesy with the writing, almost like a medium decent episode of like Justice League the Animated Series. And don't get me wrong, I love Justice League the Animated Series, but if you go from something like Justice League the Animated Series to a film, then you can definitely tell the differences in writing, and that this one's cornier, it's easily digestible, it's easily this, whereas the film will have very different types of writing to make sure that you understand everything that's happening, but you can also really grip onto words. You can really understand where they're coming from and stuff like this. It's not just like, I'm not going to give a example completely out of the film, but in one aspect you might have somebody talking about saving the world, and they're just like, well, I was brought up to save the world because that's the right thing to do. And then in the other aspect, you might have somebody who's in that same position, and they're saving the world, but at the end of the day, and their lines might be something a little bit closer to like, well, I was raised by a family that took me in and helped me gain my powers. They helped teach me to be who I am, and I cannot stand by while humanity suffers at the hands of my own people, and blah, 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 blah. And those are two very different situations. One has a lot more character in it. One has a lot more motivation from what you see from their past. And the other one is just very, well, it's the right thing to do, so I'm doing it. And this movie has a lot of that one. It has a lot of, oh, well, it's the right thing to do, so I'm doing it. Not a lot of, well, I need to do this because I feel like I need to do this, and I feel like it's the best thing to do because of this and because of that and because of this. So the screenwriting is not ideal. It's not great. It's very, very easy and digestible and stuff like that. So those are my main gripes. The other one that I have, which isn't huge, and it's just kind of there, is a lot of the characters other than the main ones. So when I say main ones, I'm thinking Superman, Lois, Lex, and and then the Guardians, the Justice, they call themselves the Justice Guild, which isn't a spoiler, but um, so Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, they are written well. They have more personality. Their acting is really good. They actually feel like they have like decent enough character to them. Like passable character to them. But when you get into a lot of other characters like Ma and Pa Kent and some of the people that work in the Daily Planet and stuff like that, they're way more serialized. They're way more caricatures of what you would think that person would be. And that's, I think, where it really starts to feel like that cartoony, animated thing, especially his parents, Ma and Pa Kent. There's one really good scene with Pa Kent. The rest of the time, they just feel very like, oh, well, if you had a Southern mom and a Southern dad, and like, what would they be like? You picture the most dramatic scenario you can in your head of like heartwarming, classic, loving mother and father from Kansas, and they're exactly that. They don't have any extra characterization to them. They don't have any extra depth to them. And so but those are the only issues I have with the film. A lot of the good things with the film is the action is really, really good, even though the CGI can be spotty, but it's the first film in the DCU, so I'm going to majorly give it a pass on that. A lot of people might say that, well, Iron Man was the first film in the MCU and it had good CGI, and that's very true. It did. It also had a lot of other things going for it, like a better studio at the time. It had a lot more practical effects that you could do with Iron Man that you really can't do with Superman, stuff like that. So the fight scenes are really good. The choreography is really good. Superman's suit in a lot of the scenes looks really good. There's a few times where it looks a little baggy still, but most of the time it looks really good. Lex Luthor's motivations and characterization and everything is really, really good. The way they actually make him insanely intelligent, like one of the smartest people on Earth, like he's supposed to be, it's really, really good. The fact that Superman acts like Superman is really good. The only slight thing that I would say about his characterization is he cares about what people think of him a little too much in this movie. He shouldn't care about what people think of him to the extent he does. He should, but not to the extent he does in this movie. But other than that, he acts exactly how you'd think Superman would. And it's done really, really well. I wish there was a few more moments. There's definitely a good amount of moments where he's like helping people and talking to those people and you'll hear things like, oh yeah, Superman, I love you. You saved me, blah, 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 blah. But I would have rather seen more of it rather than just heard more of it. It's that show don't tell scenario. But there's a lot of good in this movie. It's very entertaining. It's very funny. And I think if you go into it with the mindset of this is a movie that is almost like a Saturday morning cartoon, I'm going into it just to have a good time. I'm going into it just to be entertained by the comedy, the action, and everything like that, as if you would turn on a Saturday morning cartoon, then I think you'll love it. If you go into it looking for depth, looking for characterization, looking for deep screenwriting, cinematography, and everything like that, you're probably not going to get a lot out of it. So don't go into it thinking about that. Go into it literally thinking about how much fun you could have just seeing something that's like a Saturday morning cartoon brought to life. And then I think you'll enjoy it. So yeah, 7.8 out of 10. Good movie, not great. However, I am hoping that since this is a situation of things that can be fixed when it comes to like cinematography, writing, and stuff like that, seeing the Superman, because like I said, the actors were solid and everything like that. It was mainly just filmmaking aspects that I think were issues. And so taking this character and all the other characters from this film, moving them along in this universe, because this movie seems like it's going to get good praise, seem like it's going to continue the universe well. So if we can get these characters and stuff and push them along with a different director, different writers, different cinematographers, then I think that this could turn out perfect and be some of the greatest DC adaptations that we've gotten in live action. It just needs that thing. I think James Gunn, although like I said, he's great at a lot of stuff. Like his stuff, some of his writing and his filmmaking and stuff is fantastic. He did not bring it in this. I think he was just too overwhelmed with how much work he's doing now. So I think he needs to pass this along to, for if we get a Superman 2, which it sounds like we were probably going to, or when we see Superman show up in other stuff, let another writer handle it, let another director handle it. Pick one that he knows, pick one that he trusts, because like I said, he has amazing vision. He has amazing ability to do this. He knows how to do this. He just didn't bring it here, and it happens. It happens with directors. Sometimes they don't bring their A game on stuff, and sometimes it happens. But and it could have been some studio stuff and like studio interference as well. We don't know yet. We'll have to see. But as long as that happens and he passes this along, then this is a perfect start to the universe, and it could very, very well lead into like the perfect adaptations of these DC characters, as long as that happens, as long as we pass it to people that can focus harder on it, can get that screenwriting down, can get that cinematography down, and everything like that, then this will be great. So thank you guys for watching this episode of Outside the Frames, and I hope that you enjoy the movie. If you go see it, you should definitely support movie theaters and cinema in general, and go see movies whenever you can, because the last thing that we want is for everything to be streaming quality for films. Have you watched a good streaming movie recently? I don't think I've watched a good direct-to-streaming movie recently. So go watch the films in theaters to make sure that we keep that quality there. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys the next time we do an Outside the Frames. Bye.